Ellis Cinema back, created by she, her, continued by he, him. How we doing out there? Good, great, grand, and wonderful. As you see on your screen, your dial, however you are joining us today, I appreciate you. The film we'll be discussing today, Hell Hath No Fury, like a French woman who has fucking had it with war. Wait a minute. That's not the title? That's not the title?
I like that title. That's the best one I've heard so far.
It's a little shorter. It's a little shorter than that. Oh, I guess it's just called Hell Hath No Fury. Okay, all right. So Hell Hath No Fury is a story about a woman who single-handedly takes on the might of the German war machine, the French resistance, and a band of U.S. infantrymen. Branded a traitor by her countrymen, French national Marie Dujardin is rescued by American soldiers on one condition, only one. And that is to survive, she must lead them to a cache of gold, and she needs to do it before the Nazis return to claim it for themselves. Hell Hath No Fury is a screenplay by Catherine Lee McEwen and written by Roman Searer, and it stars Nina Bergman. It stars Daniel Bernhardt, Louis Mandylor, Timothy V. Murphy, Dominic Vandenberg, which seems to start to becoming a staple of Jesse's films, and more. We had exceptional music by Sean Murray, just elite cinematography by Jonathan Hall, in the production and set design off the charts, and directed by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Jesse V. Johnson. And for those of you that don't know, Hell Hath No Fury will be in theaters November 5th and on digital November 9th. And if it's a plane around you, go support that. You don't need to see another Marvel movie. I'm not saying Marvel's bad, but they got money. Let's give it to films like these that are just, I just thought were sharp. It was sharp across the board. So anyway, as most of you know, at least the audience knows, I can't stand doing this show. Can't stand it unless I have somebody interesting to talk to. And today, well, I have a treat for you. Joining the Ellis Cinema podcast for the first time, actress, singer, songwriter Nina Bergman, and one of my favorite directors currently working today, Jesse V. Johnson. And we all know the V stands for Vuckin. No, that's not a good joke. Okay. How are we doing today, guys? How are we doing?
Very, very good. Thank you for having us.
So there's going to be a lot of smoke blowing while you're on the show, just to let you know, a lot of blowing smoke. I got to say, before we get into Hell Hath No Fury, which I loved, I thought the drama was just as palpable as the action. I thought the script was relentless without falling off the rails. I thought the set and production design was top notch. And not only that, but maximum use of limited locations that you guys shot on. And it never felt stale. I mean, it just felt fresh from start to finish. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I've seen it 3 times now. There's not one damn thing that I dislike about this film. And that includes even if I wanted to nitpick behind your back. I don't even know what I would nitpick behind your back, you know? So before we get into Hell Hath No Fury, I just want my audience to kind of get to know you just a little bit. Nina, we got to start with you because you're a popular woman. You're moving and shaking, shucking and jiving. So I got to know your introduction to coming into acting. It's really fascinating and unique. Where did that all start? Because you're a singer, you're a songwriter, you were born in Denmark, raised by Russian parents, right? And now you're here making waves. It's just fascinating to me.
Yeah, I was born into it. You know, my grandfather was an actor. My grandmother was a singer, Russian gypsies. My dad is a professor at the Danish Film School. So I didn't have a choice. I was just kind of thrown into it at a very young age, performing in any sense. So I can't cook. I can't clean. I try to be a waiter, for a couple of hours. I got fired. I don't have, I don't do anything else. So I've just done it my whole life.
I guess I'm fascinated with what got you to here, because we went from Doom Annihilation, which was kind of this bigger production that you had been on. And now you're joining Jesse, who's cranked out 9 films in the last 4 years. I think I've covered 7 of them, but I mean, to step into the presence of this man, I don't know where he is on your screen, top left, but bottom right, whatever it is. But how did the meeting of Jesse and this script kind of come to life for you?
Well, what you don't know is I have been a fan of Jesse's ever since I came to the States, ever since I came here to Los Angeles. And my manager, back when I first came, set up a general meeting with him. And then you later cast me, Jesse, as his Wonder Woman. And so I have like been wanting to do this. This was on my vision board from when I first came to Los Angeles to star in a Jesse Johnson movie. Yeah, because I saw one of his earlier work in one of his earlier movies, and I remember I was blown away. I knew what the budget was, you know, because I think Jesse's specialty is period pieces, relationships, casting the right actors. And I just saw it, even though I was very green and I didn't really know what I know now. I just knew in my gut, I was like, I want to work with him. That's the guy I wanted to work with. And then we did Wonder Woman. Then we didn't do anything for a long time. So he's been on my vision board for a long time. So it was about time.
I love that. And Jesse, kind of bouncing over to you, just for my audience a little bit, what was the moment? And I know like we bounce around here. Like I said, we don't script anything. We don't edit anything. We bounce around here. We kind of go with the flow. What do you remember the defining moment where you were like, you know what, I want to become a director? Because obviously many people don't know, a lot of stunt work for years and years and years. And then there was the switch, and you have just been killing it ever since from a directing standpoint. Was there something that sticks out in your mind where you're like, I was a kid doing this and I just realized, you know what?
As a kid, I grew up very poor with a single mother. We didn't have a VCR. In England, VCRs when I was growing up were very expensive. So on birthdays, she'd rent the Super 8 projector, and we'd have bits of Clash of the Titans or Alien. And there's been a love affair between me and movies since before I can remember I could walk. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Watching that at the weekends, and that title sequence bringing you into the picture of something magical. This is all interesting stuff. But what's more interesting was what I thought you were going to ask, which I'm going to answer anyway, which was how the meeting with Nina went and how Nina was hired for this movie, which I think is very, very exciting. Nina and I were introduced by our manager early on. What Nina didn't tell you was that in 2008, when the stock market crashed and fell apart and was destroyed, and she was very, very young, she was a model at that point, making a lot of money modeling. She hired me to write a script for her. And at that time, that script was my savior. I had two little babies, and all of the jobs that I had that were being paid for had fallen through. The money had vanished. And that script writing fee that Needham paid me kept my lights turned on and fed my little bambinis. So when it came time to make this short film, the Wonder Woman film, which I wanted to do as a proof of concept, it was unquestionable. It was Nina straight away, and we did that together. It went viral. It got 1 million hits in 24 hours. It was unbelievable. I went to DC and met with went to Warner Brothers and met with Rex and DC 3 times. They took images from that film. They said they were going to use it in prep on the movie, and they asked how I felt about that. Was I going to try and sue them? I said, no, absolutely not. It would be the greatest compliment you could give me. And they said, you won't obviously be directing it. It's going to be a woman directing it. You don't have the credits to come to Warner's. But having said that, it was an incredible sort of eye-opening step into the next echelon of filmmaking for me. I've been making, films on the periphery of Hollywood. If you sent them to me, they wouldn't find, if you typed outside periphery as far away from Hollywood mainstream as you could, that the envelope would find its way to me, but that little proof of concept film that Nina starred in for me turned my career around in its own way and started me in another direction. So when I got the chance to make this film, Hell Hath No Fury, she was on the list. We had an enormous amount of actresses want to play Marie. It's a very, very good part. It's a very good script. You cry by the end of the script. The third act of the movie is very emotional. The list got extraordinarily short the moment I explained that we were actually going to cut the hair of the actor and it wasn't going to be a bald wig. But still, we had a very good actress, a very well-known actress from Russia who was going to play the part. And we were getting close to production. And she wasn't able to get out of Russia because of the pandemic. And so we had a cast read-through where we sat around the table and I brought Nina in. I begged her, would you mind doing it? You don't have the part, but would you please do the cast read through for us for old time's sake, as a favor to me, because we need someone to play that role who's a good actress. And so we had all of the boys there: Daniel, Dominic, Louis, Tim, Luke, Joseph Cannon, Charles Fadley, all very, very experienced actors, all very solid actors, all tough guys in their own right. They're guys that all have a backstory beyond acting school. They've all had either the martial arts or the military or backstreet fighting or boxing. They're tough guys. I like these kind of guys because they bring a certain amount to the role. And we did this read through, and at the end of the read through, it was very quiet. The room was very quiet, and I think Louis or two or three of them had tears in their eyes, and they hid those and walked off. And it was one of those strange moments. Each one of those boys, independent of the other, came to me and said, "You should hire this girl. You need to hire Nina. I don't know who she is. We haven't worked with her before, but you need to hire this girl because she is Marie. She is the character in your movie." And at this point, I'm starting to swear a little bit. And I stepped outside to have a breath of fresh air. And Dominic, who's I've known for 20 years, came out and he poked me in the chest. He's got great big thick fingers and these callous knuckles because he's a bare knuckle fighter, and he trains in Kyokushinkai, which means hitting concrete and stupid, so you get these deformed knuckles. If you watch the film, you'll see it. And he poked me in the chest with one of these enormous meat hocks, ham hocks of a hand. And he said, "You're a fucking idiot if you don't hire her." And he turned his back on me and walked off. And that's, you have to understand, it's like a conversation with Charles Bronson when you talk with Dominic. It's not a threat, but you sort of feel your physical well-being threatened a little bit. and so at that point, I went to the finances and said, "Look, we're 48 hours before we have to shoot. We lose Daniel to Matrix Part 4. We lose Tim to Snowpiercer. We have to shoot in these 2.5, 3 weeks. We're bubbled here in the middle of nowhere already. Hire Nina." And they fought a little bit harder, but Nina got hired around about then. And it was just as well because, Russia never opened up. We never would have got the other actress. The film never would have happened. So doing that cast read through, Nina, through her own generosity and sort of, this is the value of someone like Nina as your friend. She drove out to a very, very, very remote location. Cell phones and internet don't work. That's how far away from town it is. And she did this read through for us, and not many people will do that. Not many actors. And just the sheer, you know what? He didn't hire her at that point. All of us trying to convince him didn't hire it. It was a Russian financer. And then he found out about Nina's grandfather, who played Ivan the Terrible, which is the Sergei Eisenstein movie, which, by the way, I watched when I was studying to become a filmmaker. And at that point, he said, "Oh my God, no, we have to hire her." So it's like, "Nina, why didn't you tell us about that earlier on?" But it was a wonderful experience, and she worked so hard for this part. She worked so hard for the role. She was burnt, shot, scratched, stung. It drew blood. I wasn't allowed to see where it drew blood, but I hear it drew blood somewhere very, very painful when she was thrown onto the edge of a concrete grave that had a sharp edge on it. She was really went above and beyond. And I think when you sit and watch this film, you owe it to yourself to sit in the big theater on the big screen in anamorphic and really understand. You really get a flavor for the commitment and the sacrifice that these actors put into making this work. I'd love to take credit for it, but all I do is set up an environment where they're free to do their job. And boy, oh boy, there's some chemistry and special effects on camera in this one. I'm not talking about the bombs and the guns and bullet hits. That's all fun stuff. I'm talking about the special effects that happens when you have actors really working. I will talk for a long time about this movie. You have Nina here, which is a rare, rare thing.
So I guess what was sticking with what you said, Jesse, Nina, you get this, you drive out, you look at the script. Now you know that you're going to be a part of this film. It's a period piece. It's World War II. There's got to be some extensive research that you put in outside of the physicality, even though I am curious where you may have gotten cut and that there was blood spewing from. However, we don't have time for that. But I'm just curious, what sort of preparation did you do to take on this role? Because I think this role is very complex. Like, you show a lot of spectrum as an actress in this film. Like, when we're starting out, like, I'm just kind of like, she's just kind of got drug into this situation. But by the end, you realize she's got all of it up here. It was a plan, and it might not have been executed the way that she wanted it to, but we executed it nonetheless. So I think there was a question in there. Preparation involved in the film.
Yeah, I mean, research is everything for me. And I mean, even before I did the table read, I started working a little bit on my French. And because he's that kind of character where I'm always in class, plays are my favorite things to do. And I just love to work on characters and I love the craft. So I already started working on it because it was during the pandemic. And I thought, she's just such a fascinating character. I could learn something from her. I already kind of started a little bit slowly working on her. And then when I got the part, I dove in. Like, I'm a little bit obsessive compulsive. So, everything I could get my hands on, I wanted to know what it was like to have been in Ravensbrück for 3 years. I wanted to read everything I could. I had images plastered up on my walls. I would only listen to French music from the 30s. I would change my diet completely. I would, I do a lot of writing when I prep. I would write all of my biographies, where I came, I like everything in detail. I just, I don't answer emails or phone calls when I do play a part like that. And, Jesse was smart enough and gracious enough to have us shoot in chronological order. So as she kind of deteriorates and finds her inner strength, and as she gets literally beaten up, you know what I mean? I was beaten up in chronological order. So that really helped me as an actor. Like that, that really helped me. And then on top of all of that, so I bring all of that in, and then I'm surrounded by actors who are willing to do the same. I mean, Timothy V. Murphy, he's from the Actors Studio. Like these actors, they just really went there, and it felt to me, Jesse, it felt like we were doing a play.
It really did. It for me, it was capturing an actual event as a documentarian. It felt like I've never had that experience before as a filmmaker or a director. It's one of the most luxurious things ever to be able to make a film like this. I mean, even wounding and cuts and burns, they were in chronological order. So we just let them stay throughout the movie, because, she fell over. I mean, she was being thrown into the ground when she's being pushed over, and the dirt that comes. So we're matching the prior day's dirt each time. It was the most incredible luxury as a director, shooting in chronological order. It was wonderful, a wonderful experience. And yet for Jonathan and I, it really felt like almost documenting this. And we had discussions about lens sizes and just keep back, let the audience see what's going on. All of the magic is there. Don't interfere. Don't do any of this kind of wobbly cam or long lenses to amplify the action. Just show it as it happens. And it was it took as much discipline to do that as it did to sort of try and come up with lenses on other movies. But I should add here very quickly, Sean, this film was made during the height of pandemic. So the cast and crew for the film bubbled at the location, which meant we all slept there. The crew was sleeping in ranch houses at the set, and the cast had a slightly nicer house that was, just across the street, and no one was allowed to leave. No one was allowed to visit. No cell phone really worked. There was no real internet. You could go 4.5 miles away and get a bad cell phone reception. And this is absolute chaos for production. It's absolute nirvana for filmmakers, for artists, because we're forced to live almost in the 40s. And what I noticed was that the cast were going to their trailers less. They were living within the moment. We were also shooting at a very high clip, but people were there and they were talking the way they would talk then, and it allowed them an ability to get really deep dive into these characters, because you're not driving home and having to deal with the bills, the wife complaining, the taking out the trash cans, or all the day-to-day sort of mundacity that actors and filmmakers have to deal with. We didn't have to. We could live in this moment. We were like John Huston or John Ford, Raoul Walsh driving out in the studio era with the trucks, setting up the tents, making a movie, and then returning home 3 or 4 weeks later. And this was an amazing sort of bonus that came through the pandemic, which I feel terrible about. But that's neither here nor there. My personal opinion on it. But for the movie, it was an amazing gift.
So did anybody go full method and you just couldn't snap them out of it there for a little bit, that they were dialed into the location and kind of like the setting that you guys were in? Did anybody go full method?
I encourage that. I encourage that. I'm a devious little bastard. I love all of that kind of thing. I'll push and I'll push and I'll push. I think there's a scene in this film where Nina improvised, and it involves slapping Dominic about 6 or 8 times in the face. And I knew it was going to happen. Dominic, I'm not sure if he knew it was going to happen, but I had them start filming ahead of what was going to happen. Nina, I think, had planned to slap him prior to the camera rolling. I rolled ahead and we caught it, and it's in the movie. And that slap and that hit triggered tears in Dominic's eyes, not from the pain. He's a very tough guy. He's been punched in the face and shot and parachuted into the razor wire. I knew a slap from, although Nina's very strong, she's an ex-fighter, but I knew that wasn't going to be a problem. But what it did was it allowed him to trigger into the moment, and instead of thinking about how he looked and what the weather was like and what was for lunch, in that brief moment that followed that flurry of slaps, he's that character. He's in that moment, and you see it in his eyes, and you see the tears, and you see the panic, and you see the concern. And we got that, and it wasn't there in subsequent takes, and it was there because that moment was allowed to go one step. Now, do I encourage actors to hit other actors? No, of course not. That would be a terrible thing to say. In this particular instance, it worked phenomenally well.
It was more like a wake, because I couldn't get his attention, so it was more of a wake up.
Yeah.
You got to give yourself credit, Jesse, for letting the actors do. So many directors won't let us do and play and do what we need to do, or take some.
That's the fun for me. That's what makes it exciting. I want to watch the monitor, and several times on this one, while I'm watching the monitor, waiting for, the crew are standing behind me waiting for me to say cut, but I'm lost because I've lost myself in that scene. It's so good. I want to know what happens next. I want it to breathe, and you let it go. And those moments where you forget to say cut, they're just like diamonds in your life. You forget there's moments that step out like these wonderful moments of creativity. The finished film is one thing, but those moments on set where you truly are so involved in that scene that you want to know what the characters are going to do next, those are special. And we had a few on this one, and it's coming up with the right environment and the right spices and the right direction and the right actors and the right wardrobe and clothing, and making sure that the crew members are quiet enough and not knocking people out of the, running into the shot and talking, gossiping with the actors in between takes. You allow them to reach that place, and hopefully it comes across. So go see it on the big screen.
I gotta run, you guys.
Nina, thank you so much for joining us. I best of luck with the rest of your busy day. Thank you so much for joining us, and this will be up shortly, so be aware of that.
Okay. Yeah, it was nice meeting you. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.
See ya. Jesse, so I guess now that I have you all to myself, Jesse, this has got to, at least the feel of it, this has to feel like one of the bigger scale productions that you've done, no?
Absolutely. I want it to feel as big as it possibly could be, as large as it could be. We're very lucky, we had a sequence, we had shooting that we were able to do in Belarus, where we had 400 Nazi soldiers, tanks and trucks and motorcycles. We had a B-25, one of the only ones in a private collection that we had in the movie, actual B-25 that flew in the Second World War. We had amazing things, and my job was to try and sort of put them into the film organically and make them feel like you're watching something that isn't restrained by a smaller budget, that's goes beyond what we actually spent, and is able to compete with any other film that's out there at the moment. That was the idea. I mean, obviously, people will go and say, oh, well, we don't have you don't have any of these recognizable actors from that list of 35 actors, but these guys give it their heart and soul. And do yourself a favor and go sit on the big screen if you get the chance. I'm not talking to you, I'm addressing your viewers. If you get the chance, this film was designed and it was engineered and it was framed, and it was, the care and attention went into it for the big screen. It was shot in anamorphic ratio, which is it decompresses and compresses, for the screen. It was something that was designed in the 50s to compete with television. Shot with wonderful Cooke retro lenses from the 60s. Everything about it was made with a view to looking like a huge movie. So I'd love to feel that it didn't show its seams, the gaffer tape holding together behind. What you see is what we wanted, to be seen, and very proud of it.
Yeah, my audience definitely. I mean, actually, a little bit about the show, Jesse. So this whole thing, this whole stupid Ellis Cinema podcast, or Ellis and Emma. I got to find an Emma. I need to have an Emma with me.
Yeah.
But this whole thing started because I had kind of gotten, I don't want to say upset or angry, but I was just kind of getting tired of. It seemed like we kept trending towards kind of short time frame media. And what I mean by that is whether it's TikTok, and I'm not bashing any of these things. I started this because I found that I was having less and less conversations about movies, and I was having more and more conversation about YouTube, people that, broadcast on YouTube or Twitch or whatever the hell else. And this whole thing started because I wanted to get people back in the theater. Or
Yeah, I love that. I really love that. And that's the way to see this one. Sean, I have another one coming up on my list as well that I'm already into. So I'm going to have to love you and leave you. Can we do this? Did you have an 11 o'clock end on yours, or did you have longer?
I had an hour a time frame on mine. That's what, well, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm not throwing anybody to the wolves. So I will say,
my one says 1 hour as well, paired with Nina, and then they've got me on 11 a.m. as well. So someone made a mistake over there.
That's quite all right. When stars,
can I come back to you at? Let's have a look. I have an opening at 1:30.
well, actually, so today I got my own string of things, but tell you what, how about you and I, we'll just kind of conversate amongst us, and we'll kind of leave out the middleman, and we'll figure out a time where we can do this again, relatively in the near future. I don't know. It could be next week or the following. I would love that, man, because before I let you go, can I at least blow smoke directly to you before I let you go? Is that all right?
100%. Yes.
Jesse, I have been a fan for a long time now. I think you know that. I've been trying to get you on this show for years. Like I said, 9 films in 4 years. I got to say, I think this is one of your most polished. And I don't say that to detract the work that you have done prior. I just felt like between you, the entire cast, the crew, everyone is clicking on all cylinders on this. And it makes it such an enjoyable watch. I think I told you on Instagram, you told a very personal story without forgetting the big picture, which is the horrors of war. As cliche as the horrors of war sound, I still do think that it's important to talk about. And somehow you were able to do a balancing act between both and execute it perfectly. And I'm a fan for life. I think what you've done with this piece, I hope it finds an audience. And I think that there is enough within this piece that even outside of its kind of generic demo that you may say it fits, I think it's got a lot of traction to it, sir. And I nothing but success for this film.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your time.
Hey, thank you, sir. I appreciate you. And we will talk soon. All right. All righty, sir. All right. So Ellis Cinema. I would just like to say the consummate professional I am, because I think this interview is supposed to have 3 people. We were supposed to have them for an hour, and the rails fell off, but you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it. Hell hath no fury. You guys know that I typically don't talk about stuff unless I think it's worth talking about. And I have been a fan of Jesse's for years, and I do mean it. Now that he's even off, I'll say it again. I think that this is one of his most polished features that I have seen. And, even if the content itself, like, stuff that he's done before, Avengement, Debt Collectors, we can go on and on. Avengement may fit more the tone of what me as a person likes, but Hell Hath No Fury as a movie, as a whole, it's hard to deny its place in kind of the war genre. I think it's that good. I really do. I had shades of a la Inglourious Bastards. I had shades of Fury. I just thought that the piece from top to bottom works. There are no lulls. And for someone who sees as many movies in a year like I do, a war piece is a tough sell for me, not because that, you know, anything about who's involved with it, actors, actresses, so on and so forth. But once you've seen, you know, the 30 movies about war, you kind of get the idea. And sometimes just from a mood standpoint, you're just, you know, you're not interested in that. You know, it takes it's like music. Sometimes when it comes to a war film, you got to be in the right mood to want to experience that, especially when you watch stuff like I do, where it hits you really hard. So but anyway, Hell Hath No Fury in theaters on November 5th. If you are lucky enough to have that film be playing by you, please go see it. Support some of these smaller films. And I'll tell you right now, like, don't be kind of hesitant when I say small film. Like Jesse said, like Nina said, I've said, this does not look like a fucking small film. You know what I'm saying? I'm mentioning stuff like Inglourious Bastards and Fury and shit. Like, it is not a small film. And I think Jesse, the cast, the crew, you know, Nina's a fucking badass. Louis was great. I wish I would have got the chance to tell him that I think he exuded an empathy amongst his badassness that I really hope isn't overlooked. Everybody is great in this film. So, Hell Hath No Fury. Hell Hath No Fury. Like a French woman who has fucking had it with war. Well Go USA presents Hell Hath No Fury in theaters November 5th and on digital November 9th. See it in the theater if you can. We're going to get Jesse back on here. Maybe Nina. Maybe Louis. If I could somehow get everybody on, that would be fucking wild. But I think that the interview would just be chaos. Ellis Cinema, we gone.